Hello there, welcome back to DSR Ghostwriting on YouTube, also on LinkedIn. My name, as previously, is Daniel Rosell, and this is another video in which I wanted to present I think just basic but important concept in thought leadership, as well as something I get asked, if not all the time, then very, very frequently by prospective clients looking at rolling out a thought leadership campaign, whether for themselves or their businesses or marketing agencies looking to deliver better thought leadership to their clients. That's as follows. Should I publish my thought leadership on our company blog? Should I publish it on Medium or LinkedIn? So in other words, the kind of obvious places, obvious social networks where you would perhaps want to publish your thought leadership, or should I publish it on trade media on a website? And that obviously involves pitching external media organizations, getting past an editorial filter. There's going to be a style guide. There's going to be somebody looking at what you send in. So that's a little bit more of an involved process if you want to go down that direction. But let me just address in this short video a couple of questions, and those are, what are the differences? There's obviously differences from a simple standpoint. Publishing on LinkedIn is not the same audience as Medium. It's not the same audience as your blog, but there also are a couple of concerns that I want to, pros and cons basically, that I want to just get across here. Okay, so number one is if you're publishing on site, and on site versus offsite. So we're talking about, and I have a chart on the DSR Ghostwriting blog. It breaks down, on the one hand, offsite and on site, and the other hand, editorial control versus no editorial control. That's another important feature. So for instance, if you're publishing on Medium, your own Medium publication, that is an offsite location. It's not your domain name. It's published on the domain medium.com. That means that your writing inherits the domain authority of the top level domain medium.com, but you have editorial control, right? Unless you're publishing for a Medium publication, but let's just keep things simple and you're just publishing to your profile. So that is an offsite location over which you have editorial control. Contrast with publishing in a trade media landscape, a magazine or website. That would be an example of an off-site location. So it's not your website and you do not have editorial control. Firstly, in order to get the piece published, you're typically submitting to an editor. And secondly, if after it's published, you don't like the way you wrote something, typically you can't just come back, log into a CMS and edit your writing. So that's a really, really important distinction. And that's how, when I have in my webinar about thought leadership, that's the schema that I use to divide things according to on-site versus off-site, editorial control versus not editorial control. So the first thing to say is, if you're publishing on-site, your company blog, if you want to publish your thought leadership there, firstly, there is definitely nothing wrong with that. It's a viable venue. You will have the audience that your blog has. So you can, of course, syndicate out through social channels, but basically the core audience is going to be the people looking at your blog. One significant advantage is you're building up your SEO by publishing on your website. I'm talking about that's where the content's going to go first. Now you can syndicate content, so you can take it from your blog and publish it out to Medium and LinkedIn. To do that, you should be using the canonical HTML tags. But the first copy, Google is going to identify the first copy as what's published on your website, and that will be given priority in the index unless you go ahead and ignore SEO best practices and publish in a secondary location without putting those tags. So don't do that. Either publish first somewhere else and then your website, or vice versa, but syndicate content properly in the search engines. So if you're publishing on your site, you're getting the SEO benefit of your site. If you're doing this properly, then if you're going to be getting backlinks to that content, they'll be backlinking to your website, and therefore the domain authority of your web property is going to be building, and that will have increasing benefits over time in terms of the SEO performance of your website. So if you want to just really commit to a long-term strategy of building up your domain and your website, then on-site publishing is probably the way to go. you can always syndicate out to channels like LinkedIn and Medium. A very small point, and it's only because this is a particular interest of mine. From a backup standpoint, the safest thing to do is to publish on your website, because it's a channel you own. You're not putting your writing and your thought leadership into a cloud hosted service such as Medium or LinkedIn or Twitter. And it's not that you can't back up for Medium, you can, but it's actually an imperfect backup at the time of writing. If you do a Medium backup, the images are not in the backup file, they're in the Medium CDN. So that's a very, very fine technical point there. But if you really want to protect the integrity of your data and put your thought leadership in a place you manage, your website's the best bet. It's your domain. You can figure out some kind of a backup approach. So those are the advantages of publishing on-site. Publishing off-site, LinkedIn, Medium would be examples of owned off-site. So they're owned channels. You control the editorial direction of the channels. You can publish on LinkedIn Pulse or Medium. You can publish what you want. You can update it when you want. The exception would be publishing for a Medium publication. Though in that case, it's an offsite channel which you don't have you cede your editorial control over. Finally, publishing offsite on a non-controlled channel would be, for example, publishing on Entrepreneur, or publishing in Harvard Business Review, or publishing in Marketing Profs. So the advantage here would be that you are tapping into a potentially much, much bigger audience than you could get on your blog. These are big top-tier media channels. They have professionals tweeting out the content published on them on social media, and you can get a lot of engagement and reach an audience that might have been inaccessible to you publishing through your blog or your website. So that's the major advantage to offsite publishing, guest post publishing. Another advantage is you can get backlinks. So if you're allowed to put in a backlink there to your own website, and for example, the author bio, this is a good way of building up the domain authority of your own website. So therefore, what a lot of people recommend is to do 80% on-site and 20% off-site. So do a mixture, publish mostly on your own website, but publish periodically off-site in order to get a few backlinks back to your site. I don't think there's a magic formula or percentage to striking the right balance, but I do think it's best for most people to do both. And just if you're publishing offsite, remember what I said about backups. It's not the end of the world. You should be backing up all your writing, and that's something I really encourage everybody to do. Whether you're writing for yourself or writing for your business or writing for your clients, take your backup game seriously, and anything you write should be in your own file system that's backed up somewhere. So that's basically it in terms of on-site versus off-site. To reiterate, on-site, you're publishing on your own website, which means that you're building up that own domain, and it's going to inherit the domain authority of the domain you're publishing on. If you publish offsite, you're potentially tapping into much, much bigger audiences, professionally managed publishing platforms. The disadvantage would be that you do not own the domain. If it's non-managed, for example, trade media, you are not going to be able to control or manipulate or edit what once it's gone out, and that's a disadvantage there. So that's basically it. They have pros and cons, and there are different reasons when it's better to publish on-site, when it's better to publish off-site. If you're interested in learning more about executing and planning a thought leadership campaign for your business, then please check out my website. I specialize in helping companies develop thought leadership campaigns. The domain again is dsrghostwriting.com. Until the next time, this has been Daniel Rosell wishing you a good day.